Young Guns is a 1988 released Western directed by Christopher Kane.
In 1878, Lincoln County, New Mexico, a young man is taken in by a British rancher named Tunstall to be part of his regulators, who in exchange for food, board and education protect the ranch from the local Santa Fe ring, led by the nasty Murphy, led by Jack Palance. After Tunstall's gunned down, after things sort of escalate between the two groups, this young man begins a bloody rampage of revenge that makes him the outlaw known as Billy the Kid.
I always found that Young Guns did for cowboys what Lost Boys did for vampires. Made them kind of cool and sexy again. You know what I mean?
At the time, late 80s Westerns weren't really
that thing,
were they?
No. And in fact, I read that I think After Heaven's Gate was a failure, or a bit of a box office bomb. They the producers and director of this film found it quite hard to gain, to kind of get the money, get the funds, to make this one because of the kind of bad feeling on Westerns. So I think it did. It kind of, it made it feel cool again. And when I was I suppose, early teenagers when this one came out, and that, the opening scene, it has this kind of, because the music in this is kind of rock music, bass,
a bit of synth as well.
A bit of synth, and then the opening scene, it's kind of got this grainy scene with this kind of rumbling start to the soundtrack, and then
it's like a music video.
It's like a music video, and then they got them all standing alongside each other, and they pick up their guns and bang, 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 and then you've got all of them. The camera zooms into them, and they look up at the camera, and it's just very cool. And I think for a young, impressionable teenager that I was. It was very cool, and I've always enjoyed this movie. And going back to it now, I haven't seen it for a number of years. It's still a lot of fun, and I think it's known as being quite accurate to.
It is, yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of myth about Billy the Kid and these guys, and I think this kind of some people are saying it's kind of accurate in that it's both fact and fiction.
Yeah,
it kind of it gets the myth right, but then some of the actual things that went on are quite true to the film.
Some of it is stretched out a little bit. I mean, John Tunstall, for example, was
young, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was like 25 when he was killed. So, and obviously he's played by Terence Stamp here, and I'm not sure how old he was when he filmed this, but he's got grey hair. So he's obviously he's a sort of father figure to these guys. Yeah. So considerably older,
refined gentleman.
Yeah. Exactly. So obviously that's changed a little bit. So I don't think he employed them. I mean, I think he gave Billy in real life. He gave Billy a horse and a rifle. I think, which are the sort of first gifts that he'd ever had. In the film, they sit around and read, and sort of as an education, and they all eat dinner together. How accurate that is, perhaps not quite so much. As you say, it's sort of held as one of the most accurate portrayals of his life. Or part of his life. Yeah. I mean, even they were saying that he was kind of a likeable fellow, likeable rogue, very pleasant to be around, but then obviously, dealt out murder as well. But I think Emilio Estevez does that here. I mean, he's very cocky. He plays him as a very cocky, cheeky person who doesn't really, the whole time, as they get further and further into their kind of murders, as we should say. Because obviously they're out, their job is to go out and get these men that killed Tunstall, bring them in and give them justice. They're deputised initially,
yeah. But of course not going to do that.
Doesn't want to bring them in.
I'm just going to blow their faces off. And so as soon as that happens, and it happens more and more, then of course they become the wanted. And you can see, there are moments where the rest of the gang are clearly not really with him on this, and they're nervous about this, and they're also nervous about, getting the neck on the end of a noose.
Yeah. And
that's a very terrifying thought for them. But the whole time, Billy's kind of, Emilio Estevez plays it as a kind of, like he doesn't really care about that, or he feels a bit more, powerful than that's not going to happen to him. And but there is still kind of a glint in his eye that he perhaps does care as well, which gives him a kind of a personal, a nice personality to him as well. I think Emilio Estevez does it really well, and I think they all do as well. I think there's a kind of a really good camaraderie between them all, which I think there was off screen.
Yeah.
Which is felt on screen as well.
I mean, they bicker and fight.
And they're like brothers, really, I suppose, aren't they? And
they've got each other's backs in the end, though.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not sure when I first saw it. I'm pretty sure I saw the second one before this. Because this,
Possibly.
I mean, in the UK,
This was 18,
it's
wasn't
18,
it?
yeah,
Yeah,
and
it
the
was
second one was a
rated
15.
18.
So, yeah, I have a feeling that I saw Young Guns 2 first. I certainly had the soundtrack on tape.
Right.
The Jon Bon Jovi soundtrack.
Because I think I saw this on TV first. Because I remember,
Right.
because I also remember getting it on video. I had it on VHS before I had it on DVD and Blu-ray. And I remember the scene. So it's the scene where they shoot McCluskey, who is kind of this. Is this guy that turns up and joins the Regulators, but he used to ride with Murphy's gang, and so there's always straight away there's that. Is he a spy?
Yeah.
Or what's going on here? But then there's this great scene where he basically suggests that they go a different route, and Billy thinks he's looked over and kind of given the eye to one of his ex mates, and so he literally gets his head blown off. But I think in the TV version, it's quite bloody that moment, and Kiefer Sutherland or Doc gets a face full of his brain matter, which I think in the TV version didn't happen. It was cut. But then when I saw it on VHS, I was like, whoa, I don't remember that bit. And also, wow, that's quite cool.
Yeah.
Because it's just like over his face. And
I mean, I don't know if it's probably if it was resubmitted to BBFC now, I think it would be a 15, wouldn't it? It's not that.
It's not.
Violent
No, it's not.
For an 18.
No, and in fact, actually, again, I was reading that. So, without giving spoilers, there is a character in this that gets killed, but there's not as much blood on him because the producers were concerned that it was getting quite violent and it was getting quite bloody, which compared to other films, it's not that bloody really. It's a bit of a revisionist Western, I think, but it's got that kind of, men rolling off rooftops onto the floor and, great shoot 'em up scenes and great horse riding. It's just, I think it's what a good Western should be. It's exciting. It's got some really good characters in there. The acting's all great. You've got most of the... was the Brat Pack, isn't it? Well, that's not, actually. I got this wrong. When we did Stand By Me and I said I was talking about the Brat Pack.
Yeah.
No, I got it wrong. Someone said to me, you're wrong, because the Brat Pack, the official Brat Pack, were the cast members of St. Elmo's Fire and The Breakfast Club. So Emilio Estevez, because he was in both those films.
Okay.
So they're kind of the official Brat Pack, and then there were like other hanger-on.
So Kiefer and Charlie Sheen.
Kiefer was like a kind of hanger-on at the end. He came in the edges.
Right.
And Charlie Sheen too, I think. Yeah. Interesting. So not strictly Brat Pack, but I don't know.
Brat Pack-esque.
Brat Pack-esque, yeah. I mean, they're all these young guys that were turned up in all. I mean, you've got Casey Simasco. And then you've got, Charlie Sheen, Emilio Estevez's brother, and Lou Diamond Phillips, who turned up in a few things around that time, and Dermot Mulroney, he's in there as well.
I mean, kudos to him. He chews tobacco pretty much the entire film, and every time he's on screen, he spits it out.
Yeah.
And he's even after he's sort of had not a bath, but they're like in a hot spring or something, aren't they? Yeah. He's still dirty.
Well, he's dirty Steve Stevens.
Well, yes, that's true,
he's absolutely revolting. Yeah, I have a lot of love. I mean, I have a lot of love for the second one as well. I mean, the second one is more rooted in mythology. I think they kind of play on the mythology aspect more because obviously. Well,
doesn't it start with an old man telling the story, which then. Well, you're supposed to assume that's Billy the Kid as an old man.
Yeah, but I think there was a guy. I think there was a man in real life that claimed to be.
Well, yeah, there was a few people that claimed to be Billy the Kid, weren't there?
And that's what that's based on. But in reality, that's probably not the case. And I think that film does kind of embellish some of the mythology quite a lot. Although the second one, Young Guns 2, is great as well. I mean, it's got a great. It's got Alan Silvestri's score, but then you've also got Jon Bon Jovi who wrote all this music for it as well.
I think obviously the first one was really successful, so it was only 2 years later was the sequel.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that they upped the budget, and it's definitely a bit more.
Hollywood,
like a bit more glitzy and glamorous, and the first one's quite gritty and grimy.
Yeah, this feels. I mean, I suppose in a way, this feels more like kind of a classic revisionist Western. It's gritty, it's dirty, it feels more realistic. Whereas Young Guns 2 is more kind of your glamorous Western. I think it feels a bit more.
I remember preferring the second one. I mean, now I haven't watched either of them for a long time, and now I've watched this one. I'm going to have to watch the second one again soon, just to remind myself of it. But I thought it sagged a little bit in the middle.
This one?
Yeah, I mean, when they take the peyote, Um,
Oh, that's a great scene. You not like
it's
that?
funny for a little while, but they're already sort of. I mean, obviously they come to a sort of. They don't know what to do. They're now outlaws, and they don't know where to go. They're all sort of disagreeing on what to do next. So they just have some tea. That scene kind of with them all going, the effects of it on them, and they'll go weird. It then kind of meanders a little bit after that, I felt.
Yeah.
And I sort of, my interest started to wane slightly for the next sort of 10-15 minutes until it got back on track. Yeah, apart from that.
Fair play. I always like that scene. I always find it, it's quite, it all goes slow.
Yeah.
They're moving around.
It was fine for a minute
there.
or two, but I thought that
You mean the after...
laboured the point a little bit.
I always found in that scene that that's the one time in that scene that Kiefer Sutherland really reminds me of his father. Because his voice goes slow and he sounds more like his father in that one, which was, I always noticed that about, because I'm a huge fan of Donald Sutherland as well. I mean, talking of great actors, you've got Jack Palance in this, who is just so nasty.
Yeah.
He was known for playing bad guys, and particularly nasty bad guys. The other day I watched Panic in the Streets, which I think was his first film, and he's just as nasty in that film, and that's from the early 1950s, and he's just a real nasty. He's a nasty piece of work, and he plays it. But he's one of those actors that I think he plays it with his face. He's got really good. He's a nasty piece of work, and he just, the way he looks and the way he doesn't need to say anything. He's one of those actors who doesn't need to speak. It's just all in his face, and I think it's it's great that, and did a lot of westerns in his time as well.
Isn't he the bad guy in Tango and Cash?
He is.
Yeah. I thought he was. And obviously Batman.
Yeah.
And then he was in City Slickers, although he wasn't really a bad guy, was he? But he's just terrifying to Billy Crystal and his mates.
Yeah. He's kind of... I think probably a lot of actors that don't like being typecast or pigeonholed, but then of course you get these actors that do, but
embrace it
and they relish on it, and they have a great fun with it. But I think he was a hard actor as well. He was tough.
Yeah.
Tough. He meant business when he was acting, both in character and reality as well. And Terence Stamp, of course. Yep. It's got a great cast.
Well, Emilio apparently is trying to get Young Guns 3 made.
I was literally just reading. I was looking at something else. Oh, that's right. I clicked on the writer. So it's John Frisco who wrote it. The top thing said Guns 3. I think it was just called, not Young Guns. It said Guns 3, and I was like, "What's that?"
He's not young anymore.
So no, exactly. So I clicked on that, and it said written by John Frisco, directed by Emilio Estevez. And so far, it seems to have Lou Diamond Phillips and Christian Slater, who of course was in the sequel, attached to the project. So I was thinking, well, hang on a minute, because if they were the ages now of their characters, so that's 30 years forward, that puts them in the 1920s. How on earth is that going to be a Western? But saying that, it could be a hell of a lot of fun.
Oh yeah,
I'm kind of
it's kind
teenage of me is saying. It's breaking out and saying, I want this film.
Why not?
Why not?
It could be something interesting, couldn't it? Obviously, it's sort of the trend now, isn't it? Well, it used to be remakes. Now it's bringing back old franchises. Yeah, rebooting. So, obviously, with Halloween and Candyman, it's quite a popular trend in horror at the moment. But and obviously, The Matrix has come back, and that's the trend at the moment. How long it'll last, I suppose, when these films don't make any money. Then that trend will stop and there'll be a new trend. If the films are good, then it doesn't really matter, does it, I suppose? A lot of them are trade a bit heavily on nostalgia. But, it's not, this isn't exactly Ghostbusters. So it's not...
No.
There's probably a bit of nostalgia attached. Obviously you've got a lot of nostalgia for it. But, maybe the second one, because he had some catchphrases, didn't he?
Yoo-hoo, make you famous.
Maybe he'll say that again.
Although the first one is about Billy the Kid, it's about them all. It's about all the regulators.
Yeah.
And the second one, I think, played more heavily. The second one obviously brought Pat Garrett into it. Yeah. In that one, it was played by William Peterson. This one, he's played by Patrick Wayne, which was John Wayne's son.
Oh, right, yeah.
So another, other kind of ex-Western kind of people here. The second one definitely played more heavily on Billy. It was Billy's story. It was more of Emilio Estevez and that hyena-like laugh. That too. The wonderful laugh. I have a lot of love for this film. I'm Emilio Estevez. One of my favourite films ever is Reaper Man with Emilio Estevez. I've always thought it's a shame that he had. I mean, he's gone into directing, of course, but his acting career, there's only like a few films that he did. I mean, they're all iconic standout films, but he doesn't have a huge amount of films under his belt.
I think it was a sort of self-imposed sort of, not retirement, but he moved away from acting into directing instead.
Of course. We don't both have it.
We do.
You have the DVD.
Yep.
I have the Blu-ray of it.
Very nice.
Yep.
So, I mean, this is the Region 1 Artisan release, which has got a lovely little gatefoldy slipcase on it. It's got all the same stuff as your Blu-ray, except I've got a commentary as well. When did this come out? 2003, so nearly 20 years ago.
Wow.
But from what I've read, the Blu-ray picture quality is not amazing, so it would be nice if it could be remastered at some point.
Yeah,
whether anyone will.
Well, maybe if the third one comes along, they'll give the chance for the first one or both of them to get kind of remastered. Yeah. That would be quite nice.
Yeah. Little bullet holes in it.
A couple of bullet holes there as well.
Yeah, I mean, I would avoid the UK DVD because it's non-anamorphic, and I think the original Region 1 release was as well. If you can find that. Some of the Blu-rays have the commentary, some don't. They've got various different extras on them. There's the Real Billy the Kid documentary, sort of half an hour on the real Billy the Kid with some sort of historians chatting about him and his sort of where he came from and how he got into the sort of life of crime that he was in, and then his sort of how he was captured and escaped the law several times, and in his ultimate downfall at the hands of Pat Garrett.
I mean, a lot of people watching this will know these films and probably know Young Guns either loves it or doesn't love it, whatever. I mean, if you don't know it, I recommend, if you're interested in westerns and it's not one I would certainly recommend tracking it down and giving it a watch. I think it's fun. It's got some funny stuff. It's humorous. There's some tender moments in there. Casey Simasco's character Charlie Bowdry, he's played quite tenderly. He gets quite fearful of what's coming, and there's some quite tender moments with him as well. Great action scenes, great shootouts. It's got it all really. If you're a fan of westerns. And
my wife says it's peak Kiefer. She was a big Kiefer fan when she
was.
Well,
I mean, it was. Lost Boys. I don't disagree. Lost Boys was a year before this. He was actually doing a lot of films around this time. Flatliners came out a few years later.
Yeah, she loves all of them.
They're great. They're great films. Big Lost Boys.
She doesn't care the quality of the film.
Big. She just likes
the quality of the Kiefer.
She just likes looking at Kiefer.
Yes.
Yeah. And that was Young Guns. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, let us know in the comments below.
Hit the subscribe button up there, and don't forget to push the bell for notifications. There's other videos to check out over there. Come and find us on social media, and join us again soon for another video.